whether or not we could create an emergency fund to help organizations that are facing particular difficulty, whether or not it was an opportunity to give more non-grant aid, such as PRIs or technical assistance or consulting support, whether or not it was an opportunity to explore collective action with shared grantees. A lot of our grant makers fund the same organizations, and perhaps there is some strategy about doing things together to support those particular organizations. And then the opportunity to be flexible about the conditions of grants that you've already made, or to be more flexible about conditions of grants you might make during this time.
Stewardship is really important. In fact, the Bank of America study that was released this fall reported that the single most important reason that people stopped giving, almost 60% of the respondents, was that individuals no longer felt personally connected to the institution. So staying in touch is really important. Continue to be important, relevant to your donors, and let them know how much you value them. And be clear about why you need why your organization continues to need support. Everybody needs money, but how are you using those funds to really make an impact in the community? Throughout all of this, it's important to remain focused and to try to be positive. As we tell our clients, worry is not a fundraising strategy.
We have a state budget that's been very poorly funded for years, and this past year suffered cuts, requiring many nonprofits to cut staff and cut programs, or to use unrestricted operating funds from fundraising to cover the cost of continuing to serve the same number of people if they wanted to do that. And many of these are nonprofit corporations that already were using charitable funds to better serve clients, to serve them better than the state cost structure allows. And by poorly funded, of course, I mean that the amount paid for service too often does not cover the cost of delivering that service. Some of this is by policy, and I'll talk about that separately. So we have underpayment, which is systemic. It is a state strategy. And then we have cuts, which we had this year and we've had other years, requiring agencies to make very difficult decisions about whom to serve, how to make strategic staff reductions, and how to use very valuable cash reserves, if they have them. On top of that, we have late payments, but it's a symptom. Banks ready, willing, and able to provide beneficial lines of credit that are easy, efficient, and for the most part affordable to bridge state payments. But right now we do have a credit crunch, and banks have pulled back from many of the lines of credit, which makes the late payments a real crisis, a very real crisis, on top of these other more serious, deeper, systemic issues. With general operating grants, a very rare commodity in the best of times, and even project grants being cut because of the stock market drop, the nonprofit manager has to act fast, but none of the choices is good. And yet, if they need to stem a cash hemorrhage, so they don't use all cash reserves or endowment corpus, again, if they even have those, they must act quickly, and many nonprofit corporations are simply not ready or well positioned to do this. They're not prepared, their board members aren't prepared to act quickly, so they stem the cash hemorrhage. They haven't done disaster planning, they haven't thought through which programs they would cut in an emergency, they haven't thought through which staff they would cut.
I think we're becoming a more efficient and a leaner operation, and I think that because of that, of those greater efficiencies, more of our dollars are going to go into direct service for families. And isn't that the mission and what we're all about?
And if nonprofits, in fact, are willing to exercise a certain due diligence process over their operations, I think it is more than reasonable that we partner with them in discussion around the case of general operating support.
We're going to ask our grantees to be as efficient and as effective as possible. We also need to be as efficient and effective as possible.